In the Elizabethan culture of the 17th century, women were typically portrayed to be the weaker sex and held an inferior position. Yet in spite of this, the depiction of women in Macbeth displays a surprising suppression of the expected obedience and silence to which the patriarchal society adhered. The representation of women create a dangerous presence in this play. If we analyze the play of Macbeth from a sociologist who studies patriarchy's point of view, we can see that Shakespeare criticizes the sexist nature of society at the time by subverting gender roles in the play, making women characters bolder and more manly than the men. The first woman character that we are going to analyze is Lady Macbeth. In Lady Macbeth's short speech, "Glamis thou art, and Cawdor, and shalt be what thou art promised. Yet do I fear thy nature. It is too full of the milk of human kindness to catch the nearest way." Lady Macbeth clearly establishes herself as being the more dominant partner in the marriage with Macbeth, which strongly goes against the way things were in the 17th century. Early on in the play, Macbeth says to his wife, "Bring forth man-children only, for thy undaunted mettle should compose nothing but males." Essentially, he commands his wife to only give birth to boys. This shows the way men could order the wives, and that males were preferred, even as children. As Lady Macbeth propels her husband toward murdering Duncan, she indicates that she must take on masculine characteristics. Her most famous speech addresses this issue. In Act 1, Scene 5. After reading Macbeth's letter in which he details the witch's prophecy and informs her of Duncan's impending visit to their castle, Lady Macbeth indicates her desire to lose her feminine qualities and gain masculine ones. She cries, "Come, you spirits, that tend on mortal thoughts. Unsex me here, and fill me from the crown to the top full of direst cruelty." Clearly, gender is out of its traditional order. This disruption of gender roles is also presented through Lady Macbeth's usurpation of the dominant role in Macbeth's marriage. On many occasions, she rules her husband and dictates his actions. When Lady Macbeth asks about Duncan's murder, Macduff says, "O gentle lady, 'tis not for you to hear what I can speak." The repetition in a woman's ear would murder as it fell. This implies that Lady Macbeth, as a woman, would be much too weak to hear of such bloody crimes, let alone be a part of them, showing the patriarchy views of the time. The disruption of gender roles is also represented in the Weird Sisters. The trio is perceived as violating nature, and despite their designation as sisters, the gender of these characters is also ambiguous. Upon encountering them, Banquo says, "You should be women, and yet your beards forbid me to interpret that you are so." Their facial hair symbolizes their influence in the affairs of the male-dominated warrior society of Scotland. The witches and the question of their gender is a device Shakespeare uses to criticize the male-dominated culture. This new way of viewing Macbeth gives us a different perspective of the play, and we are able to see how real-world gender differences were incorporated into Macbeth. We can see Shakespeare's intent to portray women as strong, independent characters, contrary to the stereotypes of the patriarchal society in the 17th century.